Time, family, relationships, demanding jobs, careers, these are all reasons, I'm not going to say excuses, but these are all reasons that people use to justify why they're not taking action on their own health. But my guest today on Impact Your Evolution is Matt. And Matt is somebody from an industry that I've known for a while is quite demanding. You'll see when Matt comes into the conversation that he's literally in the middle of his day right now. And I've managed to squeeze a few minutes from Matt to talk to you today about how Matt actually manages his own health, because it's pretty impressive with what he does behind the scenes, but also still kind of manage the demanding career that goes alongside of that. So Matt, welcome to Impact Your Evolution.
Thanks very much, mate. Thanks for having me on.
No worries, mate. No worries. This is a conversation that I know has been on the cards for a while, to be fair, because we've kind of interacted in the health environment for numerous years now. And it hasn't been because of the health environment that we met along the way, which I'm not going to bore listeners with, but Matt did know me from when I bought my house.
Which hopefully is still standing.
It's still very successfully due to my own commitments. But one of the things that's always impressed me about following you via your social media channels actually is because we've kind of gone backwards and forwards over the years with regards to how health's managed. You've asked questions. There's things that we've spoken about when we've seen each other in person as well. You're currently sat there in a high-vis vest, and I know it's the middle of your day right now. And it's like in between going from one site to another. Just quickly explain to listeners and potentially viewers what it is that you actually do before we get into the health side of things.
Okay, so at the moment I'm a contracts manager for a painting firm, believe it or not. I'm still in construction, but I'm just in a slightly different guise to what we were when we first met. And so I travel around all over the Lincolnshire Wolds, where most of our sites are, just doing ordering and just making sure that the lads are sorted, and basically pointing at site managers and saying, "I'm not painting that, mate," and that's my role, really.
Right. So you've got a lot on your plate that you're juggling 24/7. I mean, that's if you're on the road all the time, you're dealing with people all the time, and you're also managing situations.
It's a busy old day. Yeah, I do a lot of people pleasing and also a lot of disappointing people at times. But yeah, it's a very busy, demanding role. Yeah.
So the high-vis vest, the demanding job, the people pleasing and disappointing, it's a lot of pressure to take. And I think personally that's a big reason that a lot of people would use for when it comes to, I'm not doing this because, and they're trying to look after themselves, or they're trying to say, I'm going to start looking after myself, and they never get around to that. What is it that you found? Because this is the bit that I'm interested in, really, because I don't want to bring me, I think when you look at somebody that's been in health, that is in health, I've been a coach for well over a decade now. It's easy for me to kind of look at the systems and the structures that I can build because it's the world that I live in. That's just the nature of what it is. But for somebody like yourself that is managing people, that is running a busy day-to-day life, how are you managing your own health and managing to get it to fit with your week? Because I've got a statement on my script on this side that says that the only thing your goal is at the minute is you're looking to not fall to pieces towards retirement. And I love that because it's a long game.
Well, I mean, I suppose a little tiny bit of background. I unfortunately got into training due to an injury, as a lot of people do tend to do these days, rather than it being a part of my daily life anyway. I got into it through, I got a herniated disc in my neck, and it prompted me really, along with a few sort of family members with ill health, to want to sort myself out, to be honest, and get into something that was going to put me in good stead, and as I say, not fall to pieces when I eventually retire and can enjoy life a little bit, and be free of work, so to speak. So I just wanted to improve my health, and it's led me down a rabbit hole, really, that I'm really pleased about. And it's opened my eyes to so much, and you're learning stuff all the time about not just physical health, but mental health, gut health, you name it. I mean, I probably spend half of my time when I am driving around listening to podcasts about just betterment, really, just how to improve myself even more. I wanted to come on here just to spread that message a little bit and maybe influence one or two other people if they were listening.
First of all, I think it's one of the most generous things anybody can do is share their own experience as to how they got to where they are, through the story that they get to tell. Because everybody's journey is unique to themselves. I think when you try to live in the footsteps of somebody else, you're living somebody else's lifestyle. So it doesn't really click the way that it needs to click for that individual. You touched on something actually that I'm just gonna kind of like, I'm gonna press the button on. You said it was about family members and ill health. What was it about that that rang alarm bells for you? Because I think that is one of the big things that really people should pay attention to. But I personally believe people leave that way too long before it becomes something that should be on the radar a lot sooner.
I think it was the realization that, and I think everybody knows that they should be doing something along the fitness lines. You know, they should be doing something for themselves and they should be keeping themselves in shape. We're told left, right, and centre all the time that you should be doing prescribed exercise, you should be looking after your heart health. And until something comes to light that makes you really question that, not everybody goes down that route. And I think that was the one thing that pushed me down it and made me realise that, because I mean, I've dabbled with fitness and weight training in the past, and dabbled with wanting to be, you know, a 15 stone muscle bound monster and things like that. But I never really took it seriously and considered it until a few things hit home that made that become, it needed to be a part of my life. And now that it is, I think it always will be.
So, just more of a transition into the herniated disc in assuming it was the lower neck, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people do find themselves, I don't want to use the word forced into having to look after themselves, but it is something that kind of comes along and says, you know, here's an injury that you need to really kind of manage with exercise, or here's a dietary illness or a physical illness, and you need to manage this with better nutrition and exercise. What, in your mind, just in your own personal opinion, what do you think it is that has people kind of just sabotage that part of what they think of themselves, and they leave it so long before they have to pay attention to something that now all of a sudden they maybe feel like it's too late?
I think it's just the sort of status quo of being able to go on until that point. I think it's the fact that people don't have something that it's not necessarily taught in school, that you should be getting into a good diet and fitness. I think it should be imparted on people at a much younger age, and maybe even prescribed, because it's the kind of thing that sorry, I've lost track a little bit there, but people, you don't always want to do anything until it's too late, and I think that's human nature. We don't realise that the time is now. I think a lot of people get what's known as sort of like perfection paralysis and things like that when it comes to training as well. So unless they've got the absolute perfect thing to step onto, like a plan, they're always waiting for the next Monday morning to start doing so. Until that injury or that prompt comes along, a lot of people don't feel that they need to do anything, and I think that's a bit of a problem, really.
So you said it was the unfortunate part about getting into health was because of the injury.
Mm-hmm.
So at the point of time for you, your story is kind of the reverse of what the idealistic approach to looking after yourself would be, is that, you know, you kind of just pick up this whole health and fitness thing. And actually, kind of just touching on that whole school, the physical education in school, that is something that I 110% agree on. Is there's a gateway there that we're taught in school already. It's the same along with like business and careers and just lifestyle and sort of like more like life management. Is we're not taught enough around looking after ourselves in physical education in schools.
Yeah.
So like where that leads to later on down the line is majority of the things that most people do start to struggle with could be not even on the radar if they were looking after themselves from an early stages in life, if they had some form of education around that. But for yourself with the neck injury, it was clearly something that was severe enough to have you have to start paying attention to how you were moving, how you were exercising, what it was and what you wasn't doing. The reason why I'm asking about the neck is because necks, backs, knees, and hips are a very, very common scenario that people will say to themselves, I'm in too much pain. I feel this discomfort, therefore I can't or shouldn't go and do this type of exercise. I shouldn't exercise if I'm feeling X, Y, Z. What kind of made you think the opposite in knowing that you had to go into exercising to kind of counteract the issues that you were getting with joint problems?
Decided that I needed to, in the absence of any proper medical advice, because you don't tend to get told much about a disc. They
Yeah.
look at it, they tell you it's a disc, and that's it. And all that was going to happen was I was going to be prescribed painkillers and tablets to manage it. And I've always had a bit of a philosophy that I only really take these things if I have to. And I didn't feel under these circumstances I was going to be in a situation where I had to. There must be another way. So I decided to focus on just strengthening the whole shoulder girdle, shoulders, neck, upper back, chest, everything around that area to try to shore it up. And I did a little bit of research, and I ended up straying into calisthenics, as you know, getting into mostly body weight movements because they were fairly low impact compared to moving a lot of iron around on a bar, but still impactful enough to want to strengthen it up. And that's why I took that route, just because I quite like the idea of the purity of it. Just being able to do it anywhere, to drop down and do pulling and pushing movements just using my body weight. And that's why I followed that route. A, to stay off the tablets, and B, just to strengthen the whole area, to try and do something myself, really.
So bodyweight calisthenics, just for anybody that is listening that doesn't know what calisthenics is, it is basically using your own gravitational weight to offset against bodyweight movement. So things like pull-ups, press-ups, bodyweight squats, advanced movements like single leg things, all of the kind of hanging work from bars. Now, how do you currently manage? So I'm assuming you've still got some kind of neck impingement, which is why you continue to keep doing these kinds of movements, because that's what's keeping everything stable right now.
Well, it's actually progressed and it's got worse, but not due to what I'm doing. I don't believe. I had a bit of an issue earlier this year where I had another MRI scan on it after a particularly bad flare up, and it just the thing with mine is it's not as severe as some people's. Some people's are touching their nerve stem all the time. Mine comes and goes and has flare ups. So I'm quite fortunate in that regard. There are some people in constant pain that have got herniated discs. There's so many different varying degrees of how badly it can affect people. But I now actually have three, all sat next to each other between C5, 6, and 7 in my neck there. But
Yeah.
there's only one of them that's still touching the nerve stem, and it only really flares up now 3 or 4 times a year. Sorry, what the question again?
It's about how you're managing it, how you're using calisthenics, bodyweight movements to manage like how you're keeping the neck stable now and kind of allowing you to be, because otherwise you'd have been living on painkillers and you'd have accepted that I can't do.
So the beauty of the calisthenics for me is it does mainly strengthen your upper body. A lot of the stuff involves shoulder flexion, all of these different overhead movements, hanging from rings, hanging from bars, front levers, back levers, things like that, and everything works on this area,
Yep.
from sort of the core upwards to core to jaw, really. And I just find that working on that, I do a bit of hybrid stuff. I throw in some weighted bits it now and then, but overall, just doing all these bodyweight movements to the correct level of intensity, just tends to have shored everything up, so to speak, and it's reduced the amount of flare-ups that I've had. I mean, don't get me wrong, there have been 1 or 2 occasions where I've pushed it a little bit too hard. I injured it quite badly last year doing some weighted dips, for example. It's learn as you go. There's no point in letting a little thing like that set me back completely. I took a few weeks off and go again.
I think that's an absolute, you've nailed a point there, because I think one thing when it comes down to managing an injury the way that you are, and this is like a lifetime injury, it's something that you're going to have to kind of learn as you keep doing things, and it's trial and error. And I think most people they either feel discomfort to begin with, they've got say a bulging disc or a herniated disc, and they feel I shouldn't go and do that because it's going to make things worse, or they kind of go the other way as they try doing something and it aggravates it that little bit more, and then all of a sudden they feel that was the most irresponsible decision that they could have made, and therefore exercise and health is completely off the cards, and I should just kind of accept the painkillers and doing nothing is the only way forwards. To be able to manage that over a long period of time, knowing that it is, like you said, it's trial and error. I've done 4 discs in the lower part of my back, so my SI joint where the hip sits at the very base of the spine. So I know what this feels like. And again, a little bit like you, every now and again, I push it when I try doing things that I'm doing. And every now and again, it kind of gives me a reminder that I get that whole flare up, that impingement down there, and it's you kind of walking crooked for a couple of weeks and it starts to ease off again. It is just feedback. And it's kind of telling you like your body isn't happy with what it is that you've just tried. Let's try doing something slightly different when we're recovered. And it's not being fearful of what it is trying to tell you. It still wants to be able to move. It doesn't want to say, except sitting on the sofa for the rest of your life because that's the only option that you've got, because it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And I think whilst you can move, you should be doing that, even if you've got to try and find modified ways of doing so. So I think you've done the right thing in trying to manage this the best way that you can and not say that it's going to limit my lifestyle, because life quality's got to massively take a hit when you allow something like that to be fully restricted.
100%. I mean, and as I say, the best part about the whole experience for me really is that it has taken me down this rabbit hole that is now a lifestyle to me. It's not just something I'm doing for my neck now. I enjoy every aspect of the training. I do mobility, and on the back of all of that, I'm now looking at, I've made major improvements to my diet, my body composition. I'm in the best shape of my life, and I'm 41. I've never been this muscle bound, so to speak. I love it. I absolutely love it, and I think so. My message really for people is to start now. Like now is the time. Don't wait for an injury to happen to your neck or something that you think might set you back. It's as preventative as it is enjoyable. It's well worth just getting started now. Get out there and do something. Really do.
And that's it. I mean, something as simple as you've got your own body weight that you can start using as the resistance so that you can actually train a little bit of muscle. Walking, I mean, running might be a bit too much for some people, but I'm going to come back to that for you in a second because I know that you do quite a lot of running. And I know that you've had a couple of injuries from that as well. But
Yes.
That's one thing I do want to actually ask you about as well, is because you sat there in your high-vis vest, it's the middle of the day, you're running from site to site, you're juggling all these people. Now you've got this aspect of managing a herniated disc, or 3 herniated discs. You've got all of these things that happen on a day-to-day basis. Do you ever find it frustrating when it comes down to finding the time to do the workouts, paying attention to the food, like the time that you should be spending on yourself? Do you ever find it frustrating that you either overcompensate or undercompensate for that?
Yeah, sometimes it's. I mean, I think like anybody else, I have varying levels of motivation and discipline at times. And I mean, at the minute, I train 2 on, 2 off at the gym, and I run on my second off day. There's many times, especially on a Friday after a long week, I get home, I can't be arsed. And
Yep.
to be honest, and if that falls on a training day, I do sometimes have to just swallow it, put the trainers on, make the walk, get there and get it done. I always thank myself for it. I always feel better. And no matter how tired I feel before I've gone down there, I walk back just feeling like a million quid, I
Yeah.
feel absolutely brilliant. It does things to you hormonally when you train, whether that be running or resistance training in some way that just, it lights you up. It's a great feeling. And I find it difficult, like you say, at times to always get there. I do sometimes move a training session. You can't stick to every single plan. And regardless of how thoroughly you plan it and how you tell yourself, I'm going to be in the gym Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, sometimes Sunday doesn't happen or something comes up. Just move it and do the work another day.
I think that's
I
a
find it
bang
so
on.
easy.
That's a bang on note, just to say that it is kind of like what you refer to with it's like the whole retirement process. You're looking at this as it's a lifelong thing. It's not just what I'm going to get over the next 12 weeks, over the next 12 days, or anything over a short term period. Moving one training session is going to do absolutely nothing in the long term result. It's just about having that consistency of doing the things that your body needs to stay mobile into old age, to still be able to hopefully run around with, say, grandchildren and those kinds of things, like all the things that people do later on in life. that they start to feel restricted by because they feel like their body's giving up on them. It's because they didn't do the things earlier in life. Like you said, start now, you get all of those possibilities later on in life.
Yeah, agreed. It's because it is a lifelong thing now. It's I'm not training to be an athlete. I'm not training to peak at a certain time for a competition. I know that I will eventually get to, I set short-term goals, work my way towards them, and if they happen to stray a little bit longer, I mean, I've got plenty of years to achieve them. Well, touch wood, anyway. Hopefully.
We all hope. We all hope that we're doing the right thing to give us a few extra years. So the running thing. So you mentioned about like hybrid. It's not just about being in a gym or lifting weights or all these kinds of things that I think become a bit stereotypical of what health really is. I think you've kind of leaned into bodyweight movements, walking, running, just being mobile, stretching, like all of these other aspects of fitness and health. They're all beneficial, but running for you, what does running, because I've recently probably in the last 2-3 months I've incorporated running back into my workouts. And as much as I used to hate doing running, any form of running, just because I am somebody that is 98 kilos and it takes its toll on the knees when you run on the streets, I used to avoid it quite a lot. And in the past 2 months, my mentality's got better because of it, my sleep's got better because of it, my cardiovascular levels are much better, and my recovery is a lot quicker as well. I know why my benefits for running help me. What is it in your style of training? Because you already do bodyweight workouts. What is it in your style of training that you find is beneficial for running?
Primarily, I do like the cardiovascular aspect. I like to think that I'm doing something for my heart, the endurance side of the training as well, and the recovery. But I think it's the thing I really get from running is the switching off. When I'm running, I'm not really thinking of anything. It's I mean, I hear a lot about meditation and stuff these days. I think the ability to just switch off and just be thinking of nothing more than the thudding of your feet and whether you're about to run across a road and avoid a car. Other than that, I just it's a clear-headed part of my day. Nothing to consider at all. No worries other than getting to the end of it. And I use an app at the minute. I use that sort of. I started with that couch to 5K sort of thing, or 5K runner, and just listening for the bell in my ear. That's all I'm running to really. But I do. I think it's more the recovery aspect as well, and the sort of cardio side are very important, and that's why I started in the first place. I was doing some solid state stuff on a bike, and I decided to get into the actual running bits, and I really enjoy it now.
So you use it for the same reasons, very similar reasons to why I use it. I was, as much as I didn't enjoy the running part of it, I do enjoy it now. Even if it's just one of those days where I just say, I don't want to do the 5K today. I really don't want to do it, but I still go and do it. And it's like what you said, walking out of a gym afterwards, you never say that, oh, well, that was a really bad workout. The one that you actually went in complete. The one that you don't go in complete is the really bad workout. But the reason I started doing it is because I don't get a lot of time in my day to think. So it's kind of like you get the clear-headed space for not needing to think. I do it to be able to think and just kind of let those thoughts run freely. That's why I enjoy doing it, because it is that separation, because all you can pay attention to is that rhythm that you've picked up that keeps you in that momentum. Like you said, the thudding of the feet on the ground and the breathing rates. And then it's just allowing yourself just to be like just where you are at that point in time. And that's what I enjoy about it, is you can switch off to everything, or you can just allow your mind to just flow with whatever it needs to, and you're not disturbed for however long it is that you're actually out there running for. And if you can get outside, which is something that I wish I could do, but I do run from the home gyms. I kind of have to because of the treadmill, because it allows me to do the 5K with the knee thing. Otherwise, if I try and run the streets, I can do about 500 meters and it's game over on the knees. So I opt for what works for cardiovascular reasons, but I wish I could do the outside thing, because again, there's benefits, massive benefits, just to doing those kinds of exercises outdoors as well. And it is something that if people aren't getting enough of, you should be doing more of it. So the fact that you've blended the running, you've got calisthenics in there, you've got some resistance-based training in there as well. What's the end goal? What is it for you in your mind? What's all this for when you are 65, 70 years old?
I've been asked that question a few times actually. I think I want to be the only person in the old people's home that can do a front lever in the garden.
You got very similar reason to me as well,
Yeah.
then.
No, I just, my parents are knocking on a bit now. My dad's just recently had an operation on his hip. My mum's got some problems with arthritis, and I feel that if they'd started doing what I'm doing now in their 40s, late 30s, 40s, they would have a better physical quality of life at the moment than what they do. And we're here once. That's it. We only get that one shot, and I don't want to have. They always say the worst thing you can have is regret, and I don't want to get all the way to the stage of life where we do retire. And by the time I get there, I think my retirement age is about 76 or something like that. When I do get there, I don't want to have. I just don't want to be immobile. I don't want to be. As much as I can help it anyway. I don't want to be at where I can't enjoy that time. I mean, I think we're all making moves to try and get retired earlier anyway, if we can these days. Without depending on that, I just want to make sure that my quality of life is decent when I have the life to live.
Love that. Absolutely love that. I mean, I think that would be the golden nugget that I would ask any listener that listens to this to take away, is that never too late. The quality of life in 20 years' time matters today with the actions that you are taking, regardless, because it will catch up with you if you don't do something about it. So I love that message that you've just put out there, Matt. I appreciate that. I like to leave just a golden nugget thought for those, but it's always reflective of, if you could ask yourself now, 10 years ago, what it is that you should have been doing 10 years ago that you know now, what would it be?
I should be doing this. I should be doing exactly what I'm doing now. Progressively overloading physical training and, heart training, if you like, cardio training. Just trying to improve things for the future. I know you can't wish it away, and there's no point in saying I wish I had started this, but I really do. I wish I'd started doing this, from school. Really, I wish I'd always been doing this. It not only benefits you physically, taking the attitude of your consistency and motivation. I wouldn't say motivation, actually. More consistency from training applies to everything else in your life as well. It changes your mindset towards other things. It changes your mindset towards people, and time as well. And I think, if I could go back and tell myself 20 years ago to do something, it would be do what I'm doing now.
Good man. I appreciate it. Matt, thank you. It's just hearing somebody that is busy in a trade, doing what you do day to day, managing people, balancing time, balancing a relationship, just all of these things. Please keep doing what you do, because it's enjoyable when I open your stories up and I see you doing those things for yourself, because there are people that do pay attention to those things. If they don't put their hands up, they do pay attention to Matt's doing this, and those things, they lead seeds for people to follow at some point in time when they know that they should pick that up. And that is something that you do on a daily basis. When you do share, don't ever think that nobody's watching, because I guarantee you now, I'm watching and I'm somebody that pays attention. So keep doing what you're doing, because it does leave for somebody else to follow in those footsteps too.
Thanks very much, Andy. Really appreciate being on, mate. It's been an enjoyable experience.
No problem. It's been a pleasure. Right. Thank you. As always, listeners, if you know where to catch the podcast, you know where to go to catch me. impacthealthclub.co.uk. You can get me everywhere on that. Until next time, you have an awesome day. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.